Hey guys, so welcome to my channel. I laugh every time I say that because I don't consider this really a channel. So you'll never find a bunch of intros or anything substantial like that that makes it look like a channel or what I would think a channel is. But anyways, this is just a place where I come to dump my thoughts. I buy a new truck. I'm working on a vehicle. I'm working on, it doesn't matter what it is, laptops, technology, whatever I'm interested in as an average consumer. I just come out here and I kind of place information out here for maybe somebody out there who's buying the same product or just is curious about something. And I hope that this kind of information helps. It's unbiased, it's unsponsored. It's just real information basically. So one thing that I've got right now, which is the subject of this video right now, is my trailer behind me, which is a Taxa Cricket 2021. So this Cricket came with a bad axle, and the reason I discovered the axle, and I've got a video about this that you can watch, is that the trailer itself actually set real low to, there was not a lot of room at all, maybe a quarter of an inch between the fender, the inner fender, and the actual tire itself. So I had actually bought a lift kit thinking that, hey, maybe this is the way they come out. But after thinking about it for a while, I'm like, you know what? I've seen these at shows and whatever else not, and I don't think they ever set that low. So I set out on a journey to get an understanding of what was going on. So I called Taxa, I spoke with them, they asked me to send them some pictures, which I did. Somebody kind of dropped the ball there, and then I had to follow up again. And then the supervisor finally got a hold of me and asked me if I'd ever gotten service, and I told them that I hadn't. So anyways, they were able to pick up the ball. I sent them some more pictures, and then they actually ended up referring me to Lippert or Lippert. It's Lippert, and those are the people that actually make the axles for these trailers. So I started communicating with them and opened up a ticket with them. They also wanted some pictures, so I took some pictures. Specifically, they wanted the serial number and the model information, which is contained on a sticker behind your axle. So if you're looking at your axle from the rear of the vehicle, you can see there's a little sticker on there and that has a serial number on it. So they're going to want that information. So I would take a picture of that. And then you also have, I also took pictures of the distance between my fender and the actual tire themselves, so I could show them that, and then some pictures from underneath facing out towards the tire, all those kinds of pictures. I assembled all that information and I sent it out to Lippert or Lippert. After they got that information, kind of took them a little bit of calling back and forth to kind of get somebody who could help me with that. Eventually, they agreed that the axle was wrong. I had to tell them, I'm like, hey, Taxa said this axle model is not the correct one for this vehicle. So then they agreed somewhere along the line, a bunch of back and forth, and then they said they were going to replace it. So I think it took me over a month to actually finally get this axle here because apparently they said they manufacture them per order, so they don't just have them sitting there. That was some of the information that I got. But it was never a challenge calling and getting a hold of somebody at Lippert. It's super easy. You call them, they pick up the phone in like 2 minutes. The problem I found with them was they would have to pass the call on to somebody on another team, and that team itself is the ones that never quite got back to you, or you would get some kind of a canned message or response. So anyways, fast forward about a little bit over a month maybe, I finally got my axle. They shipped it with a company called XPO. Now, XPO said they would deliver my axle on a Wednesday, according to the tracking information. And so I called them on Wednesday. I was like, hey, where's my axle? To which they responded that they didn't have it yet, or it had just arrived and they hadn't unpacked it from the truck. So at that point, I was like, okay, whatever, I'll be a cool guy. I'm like, so when is it going to come? They said, well, we should be able to deliver it tomorrow, which would be Thursday. So fast forward to Thursday, which is today. I called them this morning. I was like, hey, nobody's called me back. They told me they would call me about my axle, and I'm just calling to follow up. They told me that it still hadn't been unpacked. And matter of fact, they would only be delivering it tomorrow, which is Friday. So at that point, I'm like, speaking to the person on the phone, I'm like, hey, I don't understand. You know, if you tell me that my tracking is telling me my device is coming on my package is coming on a Wednesday, and now you're calmly telling me, like nonchalantly telling me that it's coming on Friday, I feel like maybe I'm not getting the service that I need to be getting on this. So that person said they were new, so they passed me on to somebody else who came on the phone pretty forcefully. This lady did, and she just had as a matter of factly tone, which I didn't understand, and I pleaded with her. I'm like, ma'am, you understand that I'm just a person who ordered a device that was supposed to come on Wednesday, and now it's only going to come on Friday, maybe. And you understand how I feel, right? And she, just not very good service from this lady, and which is a shame because, you know, she's representing a whole company, and I'd like to imagine that the company is not like that, because actually when I was on hold with them, they actually had all this information on there like, hey, XPO has been voted #1 in customer service reliability, dependability, and whatever else, not all these stats that they're spewing out, right? This propaganda at this point. So she went out to find a supervisor, and then when she came back, she started talking and she was going to pass me to somebody else. And I was like, hey, ma'am, excuse me, just a question for you. None of the attitudes and behavior that I've gotten ever since I've gotten on this phone call with you is kind of representative of your on hold music, where it's kind of telling you all this stuff about it. And, you know, at that point, she kind of maybe changed tune a little bit, and she was, I'm not going to say nicer, but a little bit more cordial maybe. But anyways, she went ahead and said she would pass me on. I was like, is there a possibility I could speak to a supervisor, another supervisor above her at this point? So then she said, yeah, I was going to pass you to that anyway. I was like, okay, got it. So anyways, I sat on the phone for 2, 3, 5 minutes or so while the phone just kind of did its thing. And I'm listening to this whole XPO is the best whatever delivery service in the world. We're in 43 countries and whatever else not. And then eventually it goes to the voicemail of somebody. And that person, you know, I left them a voice message. And it's been, you know, this was this afternoon, and they never, of course, called me back. But anyways, I decided to drive there. So I left work and I decided to just drive out. Fortunately, they weren't too far away from me. So I drove out there, and I got there and I spoke with the guy over there who was actually a whole lot nicer and understanding, which they should be, right? Because I'm the one that's being wronged here. Going back a little bit, sorry. The person at XPO, actually, this lady told me that the tracking number that I get is not any sort of guarantee of delivery. It's just a tracking number. So it doesn't mean that they'll actually deliver it according to the tracking number, which I found interesting, but I was like, whatever. At this point, you have to understand you're at the mercy of these people, right? I mean, what are you going to do? That's what she's telling you. That's what she's telling you. But anyways, I got to the store, and then speaking with the guy at the actual depot itself, and he's very cordial, nice dude. And then he tells me that, hey, we'll take a look at it and see what we can do. So he told me that the only thing they could do for me was Friday morning, which is tomorrow. So I was like, you know, that's not going to quite work for me, because I kind of want to do this because I need to get it done, you know. And so at that point, I asked to speak to another supervisor. So he was able to get actually his supervisor's supervisor. And I spoke with him, and then he said, hey, I understand what you're going through. Very nice dude, very cordial. Once again, actually more than cordial, just what I would expect from a company. I spoke to him, and he was able to tell me that he would pass this information on to the night supervisor, because my axle has arrived, but it's sitting in a truck, and the truck is like stacked, you know, tall and deep and whatever else not. So it's not a matter of just opening the door and getting the axle out. The night shift has to come, and they have to unpack this. So anyways, it's about probably 11 now, 10. And they said somebody would call me around 10, 11. So I'm still waiting for this axle, because I was like, hey, I will come and pick it up tonight as long as somebody calls me and tells me that it's ready. So he told me that this manager, this night shift manager, would call me tonight, and I could go and pick up the axle. So fast forward to what I've done now is that I've actually, if you look in here, where are we at? So I'm gonna get out of the way here, but I've actually dropped the axle. on my Cricut here, and I'm sitting here just waiting for a phone call so I can actually go and pick up my trailer. I haven't received this phone call, and it's about 11, like I just said, so I don't know if I'm actually going to receive it tonight, but hopefully I can pick it up tomorrow. But anyway, this video is just my experience. I know everybody's been asking me because some people have 2021s out there, and they may have that same gap in there, or they may have that same bad axle. So this is just some information. Hopefully this is helpful to you when you're dealing with these people. Don't expect don't be in a hurry when you're trying to go through this, because it's not going to be, I don't think it's been the greatest service on either end, starting from Taxa probably did the best, but everything else has been kind of just more at the mercy of people than people actually giving you great service, which, you know, for somebody that's experienced customer service and worked in those fields, I know what customer service is, and I just don't think these companies are doing that. So just a little bit of tidbit of information for you when you're going through this and what to expect. I'll try to list the numbers for Lippert that you will need to call whenever you need to check on the status of your order. And the way they actually do this, as a matter of fact, is that they create a sales order for you, and then they give you a sales order number. And whenever you call in, you've got to give them that sales order number, and that's what they use to track your package. So it's not like some kind of warranty division or something like that. They actually give you a sales order, like you just purchased an axle, and then they send that out. They send that out to you. After you get that axle, you have a couple of options. Well, you have one option. You take it to a trailer place and they replace that axle, and then they will bill you, and then you've got to pay for the bill. And then you take that and apparently give that to Lippert, and then they will reimburse you for that bill. So as you can see, I'm doing it myself. So what I'm going to actually try to do is that I've had to buy a couple of things to get this done. I needed a 3-ton or 4-ton jack minimum to get this actually done. So I'm going to try to submit those bills in to Lippert. I don't know if they'll pay it or not. It's got to be cheaper, right? Because they were going to pay an hour and a half labor to get this installed. And I would have to imagine labor is about $150 an hour, depending on where you're at. So I can't imagine that a place it would be less than 2 hours for a place to do this, because they go by a book, right? So I don't know what that would have been to get it replaced. But either way, I'm doing it myself, and I'm just going to submit some receipts to them, and we'll see if they pay them. But for right now, just that's all the information that I have. I'm hoping that this is helpful to somebody who's about to go through this process. But check your axles if you've got 2021, and if you've got this axle right here, so if you've got this axle, you likely have a faulty one, because Taxa said this axle is not supposed to be on that model of Cricut. So what I'm looking here is that item number Victor 000611346. And let's see here, what other numbers are important. I think that's about it. My serial number was Sierra 005632330, and I think that's about it. But you can see the website there for Lippert, which is www.lci1.com, but that's their name right there, Lippert Components Inc. So hopefully that's all the information that you should need to look up your axle. Make sure that you've got the right one, and if you don't, that's the information you need to get it replaced. So hopefully this is helpful. This is not a rant. This is just providing information. So I'm hoping that somebody can find it useful. Until then. So the following video is actually going to be, I'll publish a video of how I actually installed this axle, and then I'm going to do a video or how I removed it, and I'm going to do a video of how I installed it. So those are upcoming. So that's about it. Peace.